Alright, hello squeakers, welcome to more talking ad nauseam. I'm very sleep deprived. You may be wondering, why are you not sleeping? Well, because sometimes it only really makes sense when you're dreaming. I think this episode, I don't remember exactly where we left off, but we're gonna be exploring Suриne's bedroom. Yeah, so why don't we fucking crack into her bedroom right now? So yeah, this is going to be mentioned a lot, but the key also mentions it, that this is Suриne's old apartment, that she owned this from her past, you know, pre-amnesia. We've got an interesting line here that I don't think means much more than it says, but I'll bring it up anyway. That in Suриne's apartment, the air both in and of the room is quite cold. Now, the air in her room is cold. That makes sense. It's the air within her room. But then what is of the room? Like, I could understand the air of the room is quite cold. But like, what's the difference? If you understand what this is trying to mean, let me know. For me, it just seems like it's trying to emphasize that it's cold. It's like cold. I guess it's more metaphorical. Like the air is temperature cold, but it is also like jarring and not inviting. It's not warm on an emotional level. That's what it is. Okay. Yeah, of course, Tsurine feels nostalgia. It seems to probably be memories from her pre-amnesia time. And like we've mentioned, and we keep mentioning, her amnesia is very picky on what it remembers. That's definitely important. And of course, Tsurine does not like nostalgia because she has amnesia. There's bad memories, a lot of bad memories, but she can't really understand what they are. Like, she knows there's been bad memories with this place. So that's really interesting. I'm curious what kind of bad things happened here. Is it just because she had a kind of bad life and a lot of it was spent rotting here? I'm not sure. And Tsurine often gets lost in here, so you can imagine her kind of laying and thinking and trying to grasp these, like, threads of a memory. Bad memories, bad times, bad emotions, but she can't ever complete these threads. She never will be able to until she gets her memories back. And she just is stuck there, lost in thought, trying to dig up these threads, you know? It always ends in feeling dejected. It's like there's something important I'm forgetting. What is that important thing? I'm not sure. An important thing specifically potentially about her bedroom that she's forgetting. Is it because her sister used to live here? Is that what it is? She's forgetting that she lived here with someone? That's the only thing I can think of. Maybe not her sister, but maybe Tsurine did have a partner. Maybe she had a pet. Maybe something's missing that she's forgetting that was vital to this bedroom. Or the distance between me and them, always the same. Reaching closer just pushes them further out. Yeah, she's talking about her memories, these bad memories. And every time she tries to grab them, they just go farther away. Which, that's interesting. You know, if we think of her amnesia as more like deliberate or like has a characteristic or like personality or traits, you know, maybe the amnesia was kind of designed into her, as in, like, if she tries to figure it out, it gets farther away, you know? Therefore, Tsurine hates nostalgia. In the center of the room, there's an icy draft from the overhead vents, so yes, the room and the air is cold. I don't know if that's important at all, it seems just more like emotional, right? It does feel like an emotionally cold place. It's also frozen in time, basically, in a way. But hey, I'm gonna mention anyway, just in case we learn about fucking some person with cold powers, right? Interesting that the strobing lights make Tsurine queasy. Now, I imagine most people, me included, don't like strobing lights. They are not the most enjoyable to look at, but for me, and I feel like for most people, they don't make you queasy or nauseous. They might make you squint and be like, oh, that's uncomfortable. You know, obviously, there's people with epilepsy who have seizures, and maybe a more minor case of epilepsy will cause queasiness. I'm basically bringing this up as maybe Tsurine's schizotism causes her to get queasy, right? From strobing lights kind of like an epilepsy thing or some of her other conditions. It's just something interesting to point out. Or she's just particularly sensitive to this strobing, which is also totally possible. So we can be alone with Yuffie. Now, whoever does that, I've definitely tried it before. So I think I'm supposed to load this save. You can come on in. I've never been in your room. So Yuffie has never been in our room, which is kind of ridiculous, right? They've been friends for 2 years, so that's really interesting. Because Yuffie then says, I thought it was her private space. So in the past, Tsurine was like, hey, like, it's my private space. Well, maybe she didn't say that. Maybe Yuffie assumed it, but it seems like it was kind of announced or something that this is her kind of private space. And Tsurine agrees, yes it is, but I'd rather have you inside than oogling me from the doorstep. So, yeah, that's really interesting. Maybe it's the case that when Tsurine and Yuffie hang out, it's just never around her house. It's around Yuffie's, right? You go to Yuffie's place or somewhere else. So it's never even been like brought up to like, hey, can I come in or something? Who knows? But that's interesting, yeah, that Tsurine needed a private space. That doesn't include Yuffie. I'm really curious why. You know, obviously it's nice to have, but I wonder if there's more to it than just preference. Maybe it has to do with her amnesia attacks and her anxiety attacks, and yeah, I think so. And yeah, interesting how Tsurine says maybe not on the bed. Like, one that might just be played as like a kind of like a joke to see like Yuffie's assertiveness and stuff, but it could also show maybe Tsurine is really particular with her room. Like, she doesn't want people in it, and if you are like, oh, maybe not on my bed, maybe it's showing her like attachment to her room and how everything is currently. Like, it's almost like a sacred, she seems really uncomfortable in her own room, so it's like, hey, like, don't touch, like, don't come in here, you know, because it's connected to her past and her memories and all these bad memories and stuff. I hope any of that makes sense, which, you know, I think that might actually be correct, because it seems like a lot of stuff shows how Tsurine is stuck in the past and Yuffie wants her to forget about it. Which that might be another hint towards of Yuffie kind of breaking this sacred, like, oh, my room is from the past, like, be careful. And Yuffie's like, I don't care, you know? Trying to break Tsurine out of that habit. So yeah, if you wait here and do nothing, Yuffie's like, there's something out of my butt. Yeah, that's how sitting works. That's a banger line, by the way, 10 out of 10. So there's a metal fragment. Yep, metal fragment. Careful where you put your sharps. My first time seeing that thing. Did it fall from the ceiling? Here. Trash can. Discard the metal piece. So metal fragment, metal piece. Very interesting, you know. Very interesting. Very peculiar why that was even added, right? Obviously, we're all thinking about Renoline and the metal bit. My first thought is that maybe it is a metal bit, and maybe it was supposed to be the first metal bit, the most obvious one on Tsurine's bed. But the metal bit we get has a note that says from a friend, which seems like a hint, right? So I feel like this one would have a note on it, but it seems like it didn't, unless Yuffie didn't notice, but I think she would have. So I think that metal fragment, and it not being called a metal bit as of now, maybe it is, because it comes up in a bit, I think. But I think, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's more about the saboteur. Like, maybe that's a fragment of a device the saboteur put in Tsurine's room. Who knows? Like, she was fucking wiretapped or something. Her room was bugged. Alright, we're gonna start clicking on a whole bunch of fucking shit. Alright, so now we know Tsurine is pee shy. Of course, she can't use a bathroom when someone's waiting on me. Got a Hyperoid. We've got a little poster up here, Fever Dreamer. A metal break band, so metal break, that's another fictional genre here. Mentioned earlier with Leida. Fever Dreamer. Want to go see them perform. So, isn't their music a little out of your zone? Seems like Yuffie isn't really into this harsh metal break genre. But Yuffie doesn't mind. Tsurine loves bricks. She loves throwing bricks at shit. This isn't the first time she mentioned throwing a brick at something. Just interesting to point out. So here's the weird window. You can see out into the Laska atrium from here, which is interesting because if I can try to imagine the layout, Laska is below, behind, and right. So Laska might extend over to the left here. I got tricked here, is what she would say if there wasn't a jutting wall on the other side blocking my view. Yes, because there is a wall right here. Like, that is not a black window, that is a window into a wall right behind it. Every user window. I wanted to start a wall, there's plenty of others. I mean, like, have you ever messed with it? Or thrown anything out of it? Just to see where it goes. When it hits someone walking in the Laska? How sure are you that it leads to the atrium? You can't see a thing. This is interesting that Yuffie's bringing this up, by the way. I know I painted suspicion onto Yuffie with the whole saboteur thing, but this is weird. Like, why you see this window and say, oh, maybe it doesn't go to Alaska? Good point. I always assumed. So of course, I mean, we're gonna throw Yuffie out the window. Why wouldn't you? Come here, girl. Here at the window. Count to 4 and then throw me on go. Just joking. Yeah, so the space in between the window and the wall are so small that Yuffie probably couldn't fit. So we drop a pen and there's no sound, which is interesting. Like, does it just go down forever? Is it like a bin or something? Maybe there's importance put on this. Like, maybe this wall was filled in her past, you know? Like, is this a fucking bin? Does this go, like, where? What do you mean there's no sound? This could just be showcasing the weirdness of the natural architecture. Like, maybe there's just a huge fucking hole. Strange. But she does say strange. Maybe it's an oddity, you know? I feel like this might come up later. I can see out into Alaska, is what I would say. Yeah. We've got Vel99. Alt makeup artist. Is Vel why you use red eyeliner? I'm wearing it in the old family photo, so probably not. But maybe. So yeah, the old family photo, which we will see. So the red eyeliner seems to be important. Maybe Tsurine's sister used it, maybe it was taught to her by her mom or something. But it seems like it's something she used to do, so when she got amnesia, she continued to do it. I have a bit of a villain addiction. Clean up your soda cans. It's my hard-earned treasure hoard to dust. Will USB readers ever go out of date? What? Oh, nah. Yeah, and here we go. In this tips, it says you can find various USBs left behind by different people for many different reasons, intentional and by accident, which confirms and implies that the USB locations are important to the lore. There's environmental lore there. And that USBs are intentionally left places, too. Maybe for us. Sterling Naked Lady. Yes, Corpus Amore, I believe that is the day where you celebrate the human body. And yeah, Tsurine has always been very vocally against religion. And Leida laughed really hard about this. Way harder than she probably should have, which is funny and cute. There was a raid in Crypt Hunter online. Dude, Leida would run it twice to share the loot. How nice. Oops, we are going on the bed. I don't have mangies. Obviously that is a, like, mangy type, like, yeah, I thought I wasn't recording, holy shit. Like, you know, like a mangy animal, like a rabies type of disease. For dogs, because she's a dog. So, this is an interesting thing to point out, that Yuffie, it says, surprisingly doesn't fidget much at all, which I imagine is referring to her very active and overzealous personality. She's very energetic, but laying down with her, she's not fidgety. You know, she's not over energetic. She kind of adapts to the situation. And I think it's kind of showcasing the side of Yuffie where she isn't just, you know, always at 100%. You know, she will look 100% and like all energetic and crazy, zap, zap, zap. But at the end of the day, and if you need it, she can be kind of like solid for you, you know, pillowly and warm. So you can imagine they're laying down, looking up, and Yuffie's got her hands splayed out, like open palm, fingers stretched, looking upwards. She's asking if you've ever looked up in the GA Grand Atrium at night. So Yuffie has been to Grand Atrium. Or the frigid feckin' border, which she's also been there, which is a little more interesting because we know Rivian seems to live in Frigid Complex. Her room is very icy. The song is called Frozen Feelings. And she has a USB about, what is it, Aratsuki or something, back in Frigid, and we know she works in the mines or something. You know, kicking ass, mining stacks or whatever. So yeah, maybe Yuffie has been to the frigid feckin' border because of Rivian. Feckin' Alley we know is very impoverished, and it seems like Rivi and Yuffie had a very rough childhood. Rivian kidnapped Yuffie, and Rivian was in a gang or something at that time, which I can only imagine means she didn't have many opportunities, so she had to, you know, do something a bit more, I don't know what the word is, dangerous, right? Unsavory in order to get money. So maybe that's why Fecund Frigid was the place, you know? Tsurine was at GA1 looking out at a high floor from Sturley. The moment the daylights dimmed, it was pretty neat. So that's cool that the daylights dim and then they turn off, right? That's pretty cool. We actually haven't seen that because in D0 after the Berg, it's like a time jump. Like by the time we get outside, we don't see, it's already off, the lights. Yeah, and then everything went dark. Almost like there was no floor or ceiling at all, just a big black void. So can you imagine how fucking dark that is? In real life, if you're in the forest or something and it's night, it is basically like your eyes are closed. There's just a little moonlight, right? But in here, there's no fucking moonlight. It'll be pitch black. That's really scary. And we know about GA used to be pitch black. So this has some different context now. You know, they're talking about GA being in a big black void. That's interesting, you know? There was no nothing. That sounds spooky. I'd be scared of, like, falling into the dark. Totally get that. A weird fear, but it's definitely how I felt at the time. I haven't seen any other atriums at night. Not big ones, at least. Second alley ceiling at the frigid complex border, so this is the frigid feckin' border, has busted lights that flicker at night like a giant skylight show. So you can imagine, you know, while it's nighttime and all the lights are supposed to be off, some of the lights flicker on and off, creating a light show. Can you imagine being next to the huge wall? So there's a wall there, which makes sense because Frigid Complex is vertically the highest altitude ward, I believe. Which makes me think Fecund is one of the lowest, perhaps. So there's a giant wall between the two. Imagine there's probably like a huge waterfall. That's got to be like an area, right? Like you can, like, anyway. But because Liza has mentioned in the Discord about the ice of Frigid Complex melts and delivers water throughout Sanatoria and the clinic. Anyway, yeah, there must be a huge wall, probably the border wall. Just looking up at the ceiling and seeing a dark line where it blocks out half the sky. Yeah, because you would see the light show, but then there would be a geometric wall of the wall, you know, blocking, because it's so tall, I imagine, what she's saying. The interesting ... by Tsurine. If he wants to check it out. We really should. Is it a plan then? Yep. Not sure when though. Find the time. Sure will. So I clicked, if we're in the area, we'll see what happens, and Tsurine was like, I'd rather not wind up in Fecund Alley. Yeah, that checks out. But yeah, Fecund Alley, it's known for being a very dangerous, sketchy place. And here again, I'd rather not go to Fecund Alley, not even for the lights. We could go to Frigid Complex instead, take an elevator down and back up. So it seems like there's an elevator on this giant wall. Here we go. Oh my god, I haven't clicked this, like, either in a long time or ever. Doesn't Rivian live around the border lift? Oh, right. Never mind then. So, Yuffie just straight up doesn't want to do it anymore because Rivian lives near there, but I think she's fucking lying. I think she knew, and I think that's why, like I said, I literally mentioned it, is that's maybe why she knows about this place, is because it's Frigid Complex. And Rivian used to live there, so now we know she lives by the border. That makes so much sense, yeah. Yuffie must have seen it when she was younger. They moved to Frigid Complex Fecund Border because Fecund Alley, the property value must be lower, especially if you're living like next to a fucking border and a huge wall that's probably like leaking and raining fucking water and shit and has busted lights in the ceiling. Like, it's gotta be cheaper. And we know Rivian was in some kind of gang, and then she went in the mines, and the mines sound dangerous. So it's a very like difficult jobs, dangerous jobs for, you know, the lowest like denominator, people who like, you know, couldn't find other stuff, hard labor, you know. And crime, whatever the gang stuff was. I have to refresh myself on whatever Rivian said. But yeah, that's some pretty solid inferences there. I think that's almost canon, because I don't know, like, how else would it just makes sense? Okay. I don't think Yuffie like that. Hello, you goobers. I'm cutting the video. Yeah, we're gonna look at some stuff. I forgot where I was last time. Yeah. We've got some freaking songs on Tsurine's CD player. Who made these? Anyone know who made these? I bet. Oh, I heard it's that Lol Rats person. Don't confuse me with I'm Lamau Rats. We're two completely different people. But oh, these are some cool songs. You gotta check them out. I'm just kidding. We got Stericyline in our freaking cabinet. I believe Stericyline changes your zeal? Ah, look at me, I'm such a smart sci spec. Yeah, Stericyline changes your zeal, it inverts it, and piamat gives us this. That's the medicine that I freaked out about a couple episodes ago. So, why does she have Stericyline? That makes sense, she's a sci spec, you know? Or maybe Tsurine uses it for studying, right? It's good for those studying in exams and a sleep aid. Does Tsurine need a sleep aid? I don't think so. I mean, she has bad dreams, but sleeping seems to be easy for her. Studying, we know she studied a fuck ton to become a sci-spec. So yeah, maybe she used Stericyline. That's pretty cool. And we also found USB 2. So let's actually read USB 2 real quick. So USB 2 is an internal affairs announcement. If you have audits to turn in, make sure to hand them over in person to your boss during this time. Everyone is to be made explicitly aware of a saboteur amongst early numbers. If you discover any suspicious activity, report it to the head chief of internal affairs, Ferrith. Now this is interesting, because one, this is in Tsurine's bedroom, so she knows about the saboteur. She took this home, right? Or maybe someone put it in there, who knows? Now, the word boss here sticks out to me because of that dialogue with Ferrith that I think Aradia brought to my attention, I remember. Where Ferrith is like, oh, don't call me Ferrith unless you're my boss. And Tsurine's like, oh, you don't have a boss. And she's like, fuck you, or whatever. She says, like, piss off. So, yeah, Ferrith is saying, turn them into your boss. Now, does that mean if Ferrith has audits, which I do believe Ferrith does actually do sci-spec stuff as well, right? Isn't she in GA? Like, someone tell me in the comments, I don't know. We'll get there when we go to D1, but I'm pretty sure Ferrith takes care of GA with someone else. I forget who. Or no, Ferrith is Daughterfly. Yeah, Ferrith is Daughterfly. So Ferrith's audits would have to go in person to her boss, which is Atheline. Which means, like, how does that work? Because Atheline is missing, right? Does Ferrith know where Atheline is? There's some really sussy good stuff going on. But, yeah, also head chief of Eternal Affairs Ferrith. That's interesting, you know? Because of this weird Atheline shit going on, who, we know Atheline is Ferrith's boss. What is her title? I'm curious if Atheline's title is said at all in the game, but her title might be like one above Ferrith. I'm not sure. So this is interesting. You know, we have Trauma Queen, okay, which is probably another band, just like all these others, or an album cover. And there's a tiara made of barbed wire. So tiaras exist, and they are associated with the word queen, right? Like, that makes sense to us, you know. Kings, queens, princesses wear crowns and tiaras. But maybe there was kings probably not kings, but queens and princesses. We hear about retainer princesses. So maybe they wear tiaras. But yeah, that's interesting. Queens and tiaras have some kind of connection. The only other time we ever see a crown is the Armel crown, which is made of patina, I think, or it's bronze. I might be making that up, because I get it kind of confused with Amber on her person has a crown. We'll look at that, or I'll show it real quick. So yeah, down here, Amber does have a crown attached to the zipper. One day we need to go through all the characters and just look at what they look like. But yeah, that's very interesting. Crowns are a strange symbol when it seems like there was no medieval era. However, there was a dark age, right? There was dark ages or something. Well, I shouldn't say dark ages, that's real life, but the tower, when Sturley Tower went dark or whatever, it was called the Dark Age. And Liza has mentioned the Dark Age a couple times on the Discord, where like the old world was the Dark Age, I think. And when I think, because in real life, Dark Ages, I believe, was medieval era. I could be wrong. But yeah, the Dark Ages were kind of medievally. It's when the Roman Empire fell, just from looking it up. So yeah, really interesting. I'm curious, you know, queen, because like I'm sure maybe queen is said at some point as a word, like a compliment. Like, oh, you go queen, you know, like that. I'm sure that might have its own meaning in Adna, that it has no connection to royalty, but the tiara, I'm very interested about that. So there's a rec site, which is a TTPS, you know, insert text and then .rec, where people post crazy free domain room pics, which is pretty cool. Because free domain can look like anything, right? Like, you go out in the wilderness, essentially, and you take pictures of crazy rooms. And if you remember, like, in Sturley Tower, when you look in between and you can see all the fucking buildings and shit, like, you can kind of understand how many kind of cool areas you can see within the clinic, you know, if you just go exploring. So I would definitely look at this website. I want to visit it. So Tsurine has bone shears. Now I feel like this has to be important. I feel like this, I've never questioned it. I haven't seen it questioned before. But Tsurine says, my shears. And Yuffie brings up about why the fuck do you have bone shears? Why do you have those? No idea. They were here before I lost my memory. So Tsurine had bone shears before she lost her memory, okay? We'll keep that in mind. Why are they over your bed? You could have botched an eye. And Tsurine keeps them because they might come in handy. I also feel like she kind of wants to keep everything in her room that could be important. So what are bone shears? Bone shears are usually used for chicken, right? When cooking chicken with the carcass and stuff, you cut the bones. But there are medical bone shears too, for real life bones, if you need to, like, cut bones out of the way or something. So why does Tsurine have this? This feels, you know, it's not like a weapon. I mean, you obviously can hurt someone with it, but like you have to like, you know, chomp on them, like clamp it on them. It seems like a bad weapon. You would rather want like a stabby stab, like a scalpel. So it's not like self-defense or anything. And so why the fuck does she have bone shears? Was she a surgeon? Or did she... We know she got a surgery on her. That probably required bone shears, right? If you're fucking lucidated or... Well, we don't know if she was lucidated, but... You know, after the mall, she was probably a fucking mess and had to be reconstructed. They probably had to cut some bones out of the way and replace them. Did she, like, keep the bone shear after as some kind of trophy? But wait, no, this was before she lost her memory. So in Tsurine's past, she thought it was... She kept bone shears above her bed. Did she have to, like, constantly prune something? You know what I mean? Like, we've heard of bones. The only time we've heard of, like, bones is the person who can pull bones out of their ass. Like, did she... Like, I'm trying to think, why would you have bone shears, like, right above your bed? Like, you need it constantly. Like, is her bones, like, growing too much? Does she have, like some kind of weird bone spur illness? Like, I want to read what they say real quick. If they were made of bone, would they be bone shears? Thoughts aside, I shouldn't handle these for too long. Sharp things make me shaky. Sturdy enough to cut through bone and pieces. Thin pieces of metal. Yeah, that's so strange. Why do you have bone shears, Tsurine? What did you do in the past? What's up with you, girl? So we got a calligraphy marker for tagging rooms with Leida. I used to call her and tag various abandoned rooms with their names. Unable. Okay. So that's kind of like graffiti. Why are they just tagging their names? I think they're just dorks, right? Like, oh, Tsurine was here or some shit. Tsurine and Leida. It's pretty cool, to be honest. Like in Free Domain, we know. I believe something was mentioned about Tsurine and Rhonda and Leida going into Free Domain. We know Rhonda goes odd scrapping, like she likes oddities in Free Domain, so there seems to be some kind of like urban exploration interest between the three, which is cool. So yeah, that'd be cool if like in the future we find a room that has Tsurine's name and Leida. Oh my god, that'd be sick. So yeah, Leida is unable to leave her bed. So I wanted us to have something she could look forward to. That's pretty interesting. I forget that a lot of the times, and maybe other people do. Makes sense why we haven't really met Leida, and then she's always over the phone. If she literally can't leave her bed, probably because of Red Swell, her illness. Or maybe another illness. So Tsurine has pencils, or writing utensils for audits, because we know she has to do physical audits, not over USB or whatever digital way they were doing. So yeah, and we know that even her physical audits have been forged, right? So yeah, maybe they use her little writing utensils, which is an interesting word to use, not like pens or pencils, because I guess like we don't know how they use stuff to write. It might not be like Earth. They might not have like fucking graphite and shit, right? So we have Gothica and Mirabelle for Magical Murder. We know Kimmy likes this show. Yeah, it's a magical girl show for a younger audience, but Tsurine likes it. Very, very pilled. And Yuffie's like, oh, you're still watching that kids show. Little Kimmy would be crushed if I stopped keeping up with her. That's pretty cute. They're watching in the episodes and talking about it, I imagine. And Tsurine got Kimmy into the show, which is also cute because it's a kids show. It should be the other way around. And Yuffie seems to have another quote-unquote childish interest of Bellin dolls. To me, that makes me think of like Bratz dolls, or maybe more doll-like. Bellin. What the hell could Bellin be referencing? Like it could just be a brand or something, but I'll try and look it up and see if that's referencing something in real life. When you see Belle and dolls, it makes me think of like those fancy names, like, you know, like Belle, like Belladonna, Elizabeth, and then like you have those dolls that are also like fancy and almost gothic and European. You know what I'm talking about. So maybe it's that kind of style of doll. So Tsurine has a doctorate degree from Sterling. 1 year crunch study. She basically lived in the tower, probably in the Protectome. And although Jicca was really harsh on Tsurine, Tsurine would not be where she is today without that. So it seems like there's not much hard feelings there, hopefully. Ah yes, I'm very interested about this dialogue. So Yuffie's like, "Oh, Mr. Squidly, how is thy?" Very, classic, like, formal, almost medieval speak, right? Old English kind of accent, kind of joke here by Yuffie. And she's puppeting Squidly around. And Squidly responds, but this is Yuffie, obviously. Squidly's not actually speaking. "Positively slick on to thy day, if I do be so daring so." So obviously this is like we all know the kind of character Yuffie's doing here, right? Kind of gentlemanly, old-timey, like fucking twirly mustache, top hat, like pompous British, like very British, you know? And I'm being so pedantic because this is very interesting. Because then Tsurine's like, when was Squidly Liberch? Like, or Liberch, from Liebercod, obviously. So that is connecting the culture, and perhaps even an accent, or the language, of Liebercod, being this kind of fancy, old English, maybe medieval, shit like that. Because we have the USB from Holocene, where she wants to duel Ferreth, which is very, like, whoa, like a duel? Like, we're talking about with, like, in medieval times. Like, seems like there's a lot of, like, medieval-ish stuff when it comes to Liebercod. And we know it's old, too. And the language is kind of, like, dead, or isn't spoken anymore. Now, Tsurine has some really hidden maybe connections to Liebercod, because she does speak that language. And now she has this knowledge about the culture here. And I guess Yuffie also knows about it, because she doesn't say, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Yeah, as of just now." So that's really interesting. That's kind of an insight into, I guess, Liebercod and stuff. And it makes sense, because Holocene is so fancy. Like, it seems like that's oh my god, that's funny because of the stuff in the Discord where we learned about Holocene's pill gun, and it's called Fancy. But yeah, Holocene is very fancy and very, I wouldn't say she's pompous, but she fits that kind of aesthetic, that kind of French romantic, romantic aesthetic, and the fancy, intelligent language, thine, thy, and all that stuff. You get what I mean. I'm explaining way too far. Right, so origami heart notes on Promise Day. So on Promise Day, there's a little information about Promise Day on the calendar. There's actually a lot of information about it. It's not currently in my brain right now, but I might pop in and talk about it. But it looks like origami heart notes might be a tradition where you give people, if you like them, kind of like a Valentine's card. A couple years ago, I traveled ward to ward a couple years ago and met a lot of people. Tsurine, what do you mean a couple years ago? Your memory is fucking 2 years. Like, you know what I mean? Was this pre-amnesia or was this post-amnesia? Like, she might remember this because of some of the notes and the context. She lost contact with most of these people. Long distance is hard with people who don't hang online often. Yeah, there's people who don't really go online. One person convinced me to stay in tried to convince me to stay in Natatoria. She was sweet, but I needed time to figure myself out. What if I already had a girlfriend before amnesia? That would have been a mess. That is true. I feel like there would be something in her room that would give her that information, right? Like, a ring. Not like a fucking wedding ring, but, just a gift, notes, pictures, right? Because Tsurine seems to be pretty intense about love and stuff, so I feel like it's very unlikely that Tsurine had a partner pre-amnesia. Like, maybe an ex, but... And there's also the kind of meta game thinking where, since it is a game where you can choose your romance, it would be kind of... it would kind of be ballsy to have Tsurine... We find out that Tsurine does actually used to have a partner or something. Because maybe they removed all the pictures and stuff. Like, I don't know, maybe stuff was removed from Serene's room. I'm not sure, but as of now, I don't think Tsurine had a partner. But I think it is smart of her to be careful. That's a good idea. So Tsurine is not a heartbreaking sleaze bag. She's actually fucking hopelessly romantic, and she kept all of these because there's compliments and there's nice things. She likes them. She wants to keep them. Which is, you know, this is why we all love Tsurine. She's a fucking cutie pie. And again, she repeats how nice they are, and I don't know. It's a nice little character thing I like about Sue. Yuffie wants to hear about it, of course. So if these are pre-amnesia, this makes sense because Surine's hair that did not change. We know in our old picture she has the same silhouette of hair, and she put her hair up in the same style in D1, which to me feels like it's like a ingrained habit. You know, her hairstyle. She's been doing it for a while. We also get to hear about gilded fish that you make during Rise of Abyss. I believe we hear about this on the calendar. I think it's those fish that you make, like a float, or like, are those the fish you breed? I don't know, I'll cut in with some information. And of course, this is from Benny. We'll get into Benny at some point in one of the episodes, but there is a Twitter account, Dust Bunny Benny, that has some stuff. And we can get a keychain from Benny. It's kind of like a secret. And you can actually get her phone number, I think. And Tsurine blushes. And Yuffie says you're easy. Which is true. Tsurine, I think, is easy, as we have seen. We also have Jadderall in Tsurine's cabinet, probably because she was taking so many drugs and needed to get sober. Probably not. Probably because of the sci-spec stuff, but hey, who knows? Tsurine was a raging alcoholic in the past. No, I'm kidding. No, this is definitely because she's a sci-spec. So Tsurine has a photo of young Tsurine. This is a young Tsurine, or a younger Tsurine. I don't know if this is implying a teenage Tsurine, because like what the fuck is young in a world where everyone lives forever? And like, to me that implies like teenage, and we see her sprite, her silhouette, it matches up, so it can't be too far off from adult or still adult. And a girl of the same age, that's what's important here. Well actually, hold on a second, this is a young Tsurine, a girl of the same age, and an adult. So the fact that it says adult makes me think Tsurine and the other girl, her sister, are teenagers. They're not adults, because why would adult be? Obviously, you know, this is the parent. And the girl being the same age makes you think of a twin, right? Twins. I don't know how twins work. I don't even know how children work in this. Someone please tell me how babies are made, but that's interesting. Tsurine doesn't even know if it's her old family. She's just assuming it's probably my old family. Mother and little sister. So the fact that she immediately goes little sister when they look the same age is interesting. I can't speak. I'm too hyped up. Too hyper. But yeah, that's interesting. It could be like twins that are, you know, she's slightly like younger little sister, or maybe they're just born. Hello. I was recording an adna thingy.
Oh, sorry. Hi. You should have sent me that.
No, you're good. I kind of did it openly just because I thought it would be cute. I thought it would make you happy. Should I finish what I'm saying? You want to be in? You want to be in it?
Sure.
Okay, real quick. What I was saying is Tsurine might have a twin sister. Okay. Because it's saying they look the same age, but now it says it's her little sister, which is interesting. Yeah. So Tsurina's big sis. That's awesome. So thank you for stopping by.
You could technically.
You could be twins, and one could be
still
slightly.
Have a little and big sisters, twins.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. All right. Everyone say thank you, Liza May. It's also 44 as I record this. Okay. Thank you, Liza May. All right. Thank you, Liza May. I'm editing this video, right? And while I was recording it in the past, I mentioned it was 44, right? In real life, the time. Well, look at the video. What a coincidence. As I'm editing this, I realize it's 44 in the video. Oh my god, aren't numbers just the most coolest thing ever? Thank you, thank you. Back to the thingy. So we're talking about Tsurine's mother and little sister, although she is assuming this. This is an assumption. So here we're getting more lore about how Tsurine was found. First 2 months after Yuffie and Maves found me, I wandered around several wards asking if anyone knew who these other two were. So yeah, now we have an even more precise timeline. Maybe I can update the one from last episode or whatever. But so yeah, Tsurine was found, and she immediately, for the next 2 months, went to different wards looking to see if anyone knew these people. But it didn't work. She even tried hypnotherapy, which did help her figure out how she felt about these two. She has disdain and pity toward the one I assumed to be my mom. So the adult in the photograph. So disdain and pity, very interesting emotions, you know. Maybe this is just because of how how stories go. I immediately assume like, oh, I bet the mom was wicked evil, right? Because Serene's got trauma and she's got amnesia and stuff. But pity, you know, you can feel pity for someone who is evil, you know, maybe, or like abusive or something. But I guess maybe not. Like disdain makes sense, and disdain paired with pity seems like her mom probably did something that Tsurine viewed as like disgusting, like morally disgusting, or like, you know, I want to say like she feels more like, oh, you're pathetic, like you maybe she did something like an easy way out that ended up hurting people, you know, some kind of like not nice thing that the mother did out of maybe like desperation, something that Tsurine would feel pity about. Like, I understand why you did what you did, but it was like you're pathetic for doing that. That's why she feels disdain and pity. That's the kind of huge assumption I can give about what this could mean, which is a very interesting kind of emotion. You know, that's cool. And similar to disdain, we have disgust, like actual disgust, which is a lot more, I guess, like fiery of an emotion, a lot more, like that's a harsher opinion to feel, like disgust at someone versus disdain. Disdain is like, ugh, like I don't like you or I hate you. But disgust is like, oh, you're horrid, like you're truly horrid. So disgust and detachment, detachment being like dissociation, you know, not associating with this sister, you know, that's one way to take it, as almost like a disowning thing, or, you know, or it's more of like just a numbness feeling that she's gotten toward her sister, whether that's because whatever the sister, you know, whatever this disgusting trait is, or whatever this disgusting action or trait, Tsurine like kind of has become numb to or used to, where she kind of sees this person and it's so complicated, it's just, I'm detached. You know, I can kind of picture like that kind of situation, which we know, or it's pretty clear that the girl in the photo has the same silhouette as the girl from the elevator, right? And we're about to see that, I assume. And in that scene, which is a dream, but it has to have a whole lot of realness to it, that Tsurine's sister and Tsurine, they seem to be on very good terms. Tsurine is taking care of her immensely. There is no detachment. There's attachment. It's the opposite. Like, Tsurine cares a lot about her sister, and doesn't seem disgusted at all. She's very patient. She's very caring. She helps her up. She takes care of her, says, I'll protect you. I'll kill anyone who comes near us. You know, are you doing okay? Like, I'll be back. Like, Tsurine's very caring. So we can kind of think in our heads, there's the elevator moment, and then after that, some Tsurine's emotions kind of flip into the opposite, where she wouldn't be caring. She is disgusted and detached with her sister. So yeah, that's interesting. And Tsurine, now knowing that there was some kind of bad blood, kind of helped her move on, right? Because she's like, oh, well, I didn't care about these people. Like, if she learned that she really cared about them, then that would hurt. She would really want to find these people. But knowing that, like, she seems to not want these people in her life, she's like, oh, then they're not in my life. But now Tsurine kind of doubts herself, wondering if those feelings were ever justified, right? Because she doesn't know. She doesn't have the memory, you know? Like, what if she was just wrong in the past? Like, what if Tsurine was wrong? Or what if Tsurine, you know, was operating off of a flaw in her traits or something? Because she doesn't know how she used to be, right? Or what if, you know, time, you know, if she didn't have amnesia, time would have healed these wounds, right? Or forgiveness could have been given. But yeah, because Tsurine's saying, why would I have a happy picture of people I hate in my room? Now that's very interesting. I have two ideas. One is the only real plausible idea I can think of is it's not because it's a happy one, it's to not forget. It's to remember and keep almost like a trophy or a badge that happened. Like, whatever the mom did, whatever the sister did, whatever trauma Tsurine had with these people, it happened, you know, it was real, she lived through it, you know. Maybe it wasn't a constant reminder of, like, oh, I see the picture, I feel like shit, you know, maybe it was more like, you know, that was an event, that was a part of my life that I have triumphed over, you know. Maybe it's kind of spiteful, maybe it's like, yeah, fuck those people. But, you know, or, you know, like Tsurine's kind of implying maybe, or like thinking, maybe it is a little mixed, maybe it's really complicated. Like Yuffie talks about weird feelings make you weird feelings make you do weird things. Maybe Tsurine's got this kind of like, I guess toxic, like, relationship with these people where she obviously doesn't like them, but then at the same time, she, has a photo of them and keeps memorabilia of them, you know? Maybe it helps soothe the part of her that was hurt, you know? She hasn't been able to let go completely. But then the final one, which is a bit more crazy, is maybe her room was tampered with her amnesia. If her amnesia was more planned by either Tsurine herself or a third party, her room could have been manipulated, and this photo might have been placed there to manipulate Tsurine in a certain way. Tsurine's saying something doesn't add up. Yeah, there is something missing here. There's a missing piece of the puzzle. We either need to learn about what actually was the relationship between this family in the past, or, you know, was there a third party? And even now, if you believe Tsurine couldn't let go in the past, she can't let go now, even after this. She can't get rid of it. Which, I mean, like, that makes sense. It makes a lot more sense now because she doesn't. It's like, why would you throw away your only lead? That's a permanent thing you're losing, you know? For forever. She lives for, like, it's immortality. You're throwing away your only lead. Like, why would you do that? Tsurine's like, I've tried. Yeah, she's tried. It's interesting that we didn't get more of that. I would like to hear how she tried. Like, what if, like, Tsurine threw it out and it came back? You know, like, the photo came back like that. I mean, I feel like that's very unlikely. But, like, if you want to think of someone putting it there you go. But I think what it probably means is Tsurine has, like, took the photo through, like, went in front of the trash can and tried to throw it out but just could not, or she gave it to Yuffie and said, don't let me take it back, and then later, like, begged Yuffie for it or something, you know? Something that's very, like, emotional rather than, I guess, lore focused. Alright, I know I brought up the couple years thing, but Yuffie again is saying it's been a couple years. Perhaps I was a little too overzealous, and the couple of years is actually meaning couple as in two, or it's just a very casual way of a couple years. Like, yeah, it's been like 2.5 years since you searched, which is true. Tsurine searched within the first 2 months of being post-amnesia. So, yeah, I may have been incorrect earlier. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And yeah, we know Daughterfly is on the other side of Sanatoria. Yuffie's gonna go there and be like, hey, anyone know who this is? And we can answer. So let's see what the answers are. Surine's like, you would do that, and Yuffie's like, I would do anything for you. This is why Yuffie is the best, I'm just saying. Okay, well, she would do anything if you got her a burger, right? That needs to be added on to what I just said. Make sure that's in mind. Small detail, I like that Yuffie calls it a treat. I mean, obviously it's a treat, but, she's a dog, so it's kind of cute. So, yeah, Yuffie just takes the photo, and as of D1, we don't know what happened, so I'm telling you all this now. Keep this in mind. Someone, when we progress through the other discs, please pick this choice, because personally, I think a lot of people don't give Yuffie the photos. I don't, because one, you get to actually look at the photo if you keep it. Also, on like a non-meta standpoint, on my run at least, like my main run, like I just think I don't want I want Tsurine to not pursue this, I guess. It's more of like a let's try and move on from the past. That's what I am trying to get with my Tsurine at least. But and it's someone should give Yuffie the photo and see, maybe it'll come up in D2, maybe it'll come up in the next disc, or who knows how long it'll take, but we can't forget about this, okay? So write it down. So if you say no, Tsurine's like, it took a long time to move on. So perhaps these 2-ish years. And Tsurine doesn't want to trudge it back up, which I agree with. And Yuffie agrees. And Tsurine ... pockets the photo. Which, like, that's interesting that she says the ... because that makes it seem like she's a bit more unsure than she sounds. I mean, if you think about what she's saying, it doesn't really add up. She's saying like, oh, I don't want to trudge it up. Yet, why doesn't she get rid of it? She's still keeping it, And I know I just said like, oh, why would you throw it out? But it's just a really complicated issue, I think what I mean is I don't think Tsurine's technically wrong in what she's doing. It's just like, this is her being a little unsure of the decision, which I would also, and I'm also unsure of the decision right now. I would be now and in Tsurine's shoes. I can't remember a thing about these people, but I do feel a certain way when I look at this photo. I hope I'll see them again someday. I feel like you will, Tsurine. I mean, we've got it. That would be really, I'd be so hype. A family photo of you, your sister, and your mother. Here we go. We've got this place, T plus G, which we all assume T is Tsurine, and I agree with that. I mean, obviously, it could be someone else. Maybe T is, like, someone, like the mother's name or something, or the sister's name. But I think we kind of just have to assume T is Tsurine. Maybe it's Teza or something, but I don't know. Anyway, we have this little photo here. It's got a heart in the corner, obviously. We got positive feelings, love. And the mother, which is, I'm assuming that's the mother because it's the tallest and it's not the girl in the elevator. She is scribbled out. Now look at the scribble, right? That kind of color, that highlight white color. It's the same color as the T plus G. So this makes me think that after this photo was taken, somebody scratched over the mother and said T plus G. So it's excluding the mother and saying only Tsurine and G matter, okay? Now, this probably happened pre-amnesia, because Tsurine does not bring this up. And why would she do that? So post this image being made, or being captured, it seems like after the fact, I would assume if the mother was, this person you feel disdain and pity towards, that Tsurine and her sister, when they were on good terms, did not like the mother. It seems like a toxic situation. So they probably went into this photo. I can imagine them being all smug and laughing about it, and scribbled out the mom and said T plus G, right? Because they seemed really close in the elevator. And we have like a heart here. So this is obviously some kind of like happy memory or some shit. So it's basically being like, oh, Tsurine and sister, fuck you, mom. That's basically what I'm getting from this. And yeah, the background is very interesting looking. It's this kind of almost sterly green. It's very reminiscent of sterly, but it's a different color. Like, it's not green. It is teal. Now, I'm not sure what to make of that. I'm not sure if that is an artistic, like, decision, or is that, is this... Because it makes me think of sterly. Like, look at these little these panels. Like, it looks like the sterly architecture. And it's, the blue, though, makes me think of Frigid Complex. So it's kind of like, is this an old Sterly? Is this Frigid Complex? Is this Liebercod? Because we know Sterly kind of looks like Liebercod. So I'm really not sure what this place is. There's three possibilities that I'm juggling in my head. Sterly seems not likely because that would be pretty crazy. No one recognizes Tsurine at Sterly. It would basically have to be the adult, the mother, working at Sterly, and Tsurine and her sister visiting. But why would they take a picture here? Maybe the mom got promoted or some shit. But then I feel like someone would tell Tsurine. Tsurine's like a jicca. Jicca would be like, oh, I know you're looking for your past. Your mother used to be a tipsier or some shit. Unless they don't know, because there's no last name, so... So then what we have is Frigid Complex or Liebercod. Frigid Complex, so far I have no connection between Tsurine and Frigid Complex, except the one ending that seems to be Tsurine with some younger person. I can only the person that she's with seems they seem like a child, and because they can't eat. I have to see the scene again, but it just seems like it doesn't seem like it's the sister, because the sister and Tsurine are pretty close in age. Anyway, but that background is blue. It's not the same blue as this. Like I said, I haven't seen it in a while. Could be wrong. So yeah, it's a lot. It's very interesting. Anytime we see this kind of old Tsurine stuff, the visuals are just not lining up with anything we've seen. So I'm not sure what this place is, but I'm intrigued. So yeah, the last one is Liebercod. I would assume Liebercod to be green though, like fecundally green, like a yellow green. While this is very teal. Teal blue, cyan, yeah. So it's like hardly green. I'm not really sure. It's definitely interesting to think about, and look at how pink and blue it is too. The trim and the heart is all pink and blue. And the image itself, pink and blue. You see cyan and you see pink. So I wonder if that means something. Obviously pink and blue, and it's not pink. This is magenta. This is like a vibrant magenta. That's what I'm gonna call this color. I hope that's accurate. But yeah, it's cyan magenta. What is that? We see a lot of pink and cyan, but cyan and magenta, we rarely see magenta. Yeah, this is just a lot of interesting stuff that we don't really... It seems kind of outside the realm of what we're working with currently in the game, so I don't know how much we can take from this, but it's really interesting. I'll keep my eyes out for this kind of cyan and magenta. Does this mean that Tsurine's sister is cyan? Is that what we can kind of infer from this? Not that Tsurine is magenta, she's definitely purple, but magenta and purple are pretty close. I'm not sure. And if that wasn't enough, we have found a Mary Query. Now, I'm telling you, that little thing in the top left, it says, you found a Mary Query. That's kind of odd. That was a deliberate detail. Like, are we going to see that again sometime? Like, that's morbid as hell. Like what, are we going to be in the wild and it's like, oh, you found a Mary Query? That's weird. Anyway, like, even if it doesn't come up later, that's still just kind of eerie, and I like it. So this old thing is still here. It's such an interesting thing to say, tsurine. Like, of course it's here. It's your room. Does she just not look at it? Does she try to ignore it? You know, that's interesting. That's very interesting. It's almost like she's forgotten about it, or ignores it, or has, yeah. A Mary Query, an homage, I don't know how to say that word. Like, I feel like whenever I hear people say it's homage, you don't really pronounce the H. Homage? I said homage. I heard that too. Homage sounds right. Whatever it is, just imagine me saying it, okay? It's a box for someone important lost to the bins, right? So we can imagine who would be in this. A family member, girl in the elevator, or the mother, right? That's all I can think of. Or most likely, I think, is another character we haven't even heard about yet. That was important to Sue. So this symbolizes, like, when you put something in the bin, that is symbolizing giving things to the one lost. Almost as if the box itself is the bin they wound up in. Okay, so this is like, whatever you put in here, you're giving to them. So what would you put in here? I don't know, something they would like, you know? Something kind of cute and sweet that they would kind of give them for when they're in the bins, right? Like, you have someone who really likes reading books, they're a huge bookworm, you can give them a book so they can read it in the bins. Isn't that so melancholic? That would be a wonderful gift. If I end up in the bins at any point, please make a Mary Query of me and give me a disc of adna. Every disc of adna, hopefully. Like, keep throwing more in as they come out. Not that I plan on going in the bins anytime soon. But who knows? I do want to know what's down there. Most people never find out which bin their loved ones were discarded down. Yeah, that makes sense. Because it's a safety measure to make sure no one follows after them. Now, I imagine that is managed by crisis nurses and Sturley people, the suspects crisis nurses, the people who handle the binning part of the job, right? Because that is a part of the job. Cleanup, right? Elimination and cleanup. So that does mean people could lie and break the rules, right? I could totally see that happening, where someone's like, we put them in this bin, just so you know, like off the record. I could totally see that happening, because this is, getting someone binned is a very personal, like, tragic situation, and in certain circumstances, I feel like a lot of people or characters would kind of cross the job line, break the rules a little just to comfort someone, or maybe help someone, Who knows? That is just something to think about. Sounds like a cover-up for being lazy and losing track, if you ask me. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Tsurine does not know who this is for. I must have lost someone before I forgot everything. Yeah. So, on the Mary Query, you're supposed to have a framed photo, but there is none. Obviously, there's this other photo, but it's different. It's not a framed photo of the dead person, right? And it's not on the Mary Query. It seems to be separate. So why is there no photo? Was the photo removed? I know I keep throwing out these, like, oh, someone changed her room thing, but I can maybe the photo was removed, but it was by Tsurine in the past. But she kept the Mary Query for whatever reason. So we're learning as we delve into this that there was a shift in Tsurine's relationship with her sister. It went from good to bad. Or close to distant is a better way to put it. So maybe it was her sister, and maybe Tsurine kind of learned or realized something after her sister got binned or whatever, and removed the photo, but kept the Mary Query. To me, that does feel odd, but weird emotions make you weird things. And also, like, removing the photo kind of removes the warmth of it, but it keeps the like neutral logic of like, I don't want to see you, I don't want to see your face, but I'm not going to go as far as to completely get rid of the symbolization of your death and your essence and stuff. It's kind of like I'm going to take away a little of the warmness toward you, but that's it. It's not like full blown like, I fucking hate you, break the Mary Query burden. So yeah, and that is interesting because I am coming up with a theory as we speak that I'm gonna announce once we break the Mary Query, which we're going to do first. And of course we got the classic iconic, are you sure? We've got Tsurine looking at us, are you sure? We got a bunch of gooey goo, looks cool, but then we got like pink and cyan gooey goo. I know I literally just mentioned pink and cyan. This is so interesting. Why is there pink and cyan goo only in this corner? I don't know. Someone figure it out for me. Are you sure? What if I say no? Does it let me just okay. Secret option. But yeah, Tsurine says forgive me, friend, but if I am to remember. She just fucking smashes it while Yuffie's right there. It's just the only lead I have. Digs through the broken pieces. And what do we find? A flower. That's it. Feels kind of rubbery. It smells of formaldehyde. Okay, so this flower is preserved, right? I believe that's what formaldehyde is. That's why it's rubbery. It's not... It's either plastic, but I think it's preserved. And the flower, a beautiful folly red flower. Only thing in my Mary Query was this flower. And of course, this is the flower from the start of the game. So, and here's where my theory is coming together. That the Mary Query symbolizes giving someone something while they're gone. While they're in the bins, while they're in heaven, hell, whatever. You give them this. Tsurine gave the flower to the girl in the elevator, and now Tsurine in the past gave this flower again to the Mary Query, which to me links the Mary Query being for the girl in the elevator. The only other option I can think of is Sindine. Sindine's associated with the flower. Hers is white, however, which we have not seen it yet. I mean, I think we've seen the petals of the flower in the sink, and at the end, one of the endings, I think the elevator gets replaced with a white flower, right? And it's like, this one is for strength. It's either like white or pink. I think it's white. I think it's Sindine's. Sindine's flowers is white. And whatever this one is, the flower shared between Tsurine and her sister is folly red, specifically. And this one is preserved in formaldehyde and rubber. Or, I mean, just formaldehyde. So they could have been here for a very long time. It didn't rot or anything. So, yeah, that's super interesting. And maybe, if we want to go a little further, right, because the flower could have been in there, and the formaldehyde thing could have been skipped. And we would have been like, oh, you know, like, why isn't it rotted? Oh, you know, because it was preserved. Right? We could have assumed that. But maybe the reason that line is in there is to kind of hint that the flower loses its color before rotting, or instead of rotting. We don't really know if flowers rot and shit. I assume they do. They need to be watered. They have the waterer things in the... Oh my god, sprinklers are called. In the clinic and in Udinil. But, yeah, maybe this was preserved in formaldehyde as like a kind of a screenshot to save it as Folly Red before it lost its color and turned pink, or turned red, pink, and then white or whatever, okay? And formaldehyde being mentioned as preserving, this is a crazy connection. Holocene, in her room, I'm pretty damn sure it mentions a smell of formaldehyde. And what do we know about Holocene? Holocene is connected to Fecadeli, and specifically Libra. And what else do we know about Fecadeli and Libra? There is a USB about an odd room that has preserved the past. That time has not passed within this room, and we get to see old Libra. So that could be basically that formaldehyde is a symbolism of freezing the past, of preserving something. And that makes sense because it's obviously what it does, but it's taking on a more symbolic approach here. That is a crazy inference, or I shouldn't say inference, like insane rambling, but that's where my mind went, because I'm like, formaldehyde comes up twice in the game, and it's here and it's with Holocene, so come on. So I checked out Holocene's room, and she does have a container, but it's this liquid called formaldehyde. So I asked Liza if formaldehyde was basically the adna version of formaldehyde, and she said yes. And although formaldehyde and other chemicals do exist in adna, she is going to change the dialogue of the flower to use formaldehyde instead of formaldehyde. Because formaldehyde is like the fantasy version of formaldehyde, if that makes sense. So yeah, thank you, Liza. Thank you for answering the question, and yeah, thank you for your hard work. And yeah, just to double check, looking it up, formaldehyde is used in preserving stuff, in preserving its resin. It's like for woods and resin and preservatives and shit. So yeah, and maybe the flower secretes formaldehyde too. So maybe it is the source of preservation. Which then makes me think about life and death. Like if you think about it, because now I'm going off the deep end here, because I remember Sid's like flower theory that the Minorias or something similar, like people are born from flowers. And people are immortal for whatever reason. And to be immortal is basically you are kind of symbolically like preserved in formaldehyde, right? I don't know, I'm kind of going off the deep end here, but yeah, maybe the Minorias are a source of formaldehyde, but the flower at the start wasn't described as rubbery. I don't think. I can maybe go take a look at that or something, but there's a lot to think about here. I'm believing or thinking that this was preserved in post with formaldehyde, to preserve its color, so it doesn't lose its color. So red Folly Minoria gifted to the person who passed, which I can only assume is the girl in the elevator. Now, does it mean she is actually binned? Maybe she's missing, and this Mary Query is like, I don't know what happened to you, but I'm putting up a Mary Query. Maybe that's why there's no photo, because we don't actually know if she's dead. Or we didn't have a photo, or maybe it's the whole, like, trans reading of the girl in the elevator where it seems like, at least I assume, she doesn't have a name, and it's something she needs to decide, so maybe, like, it wouldn't be right to have a photo of her yet. I don't know. I'm going off the deep end here. I need to get this flower off my screen because it's sucking my brain juice. So we know Yuffie knows gardening. She knows stuff about plants. So let's show her the flower. You know a lot about flowers, right? You know what this is. Whoa. Pretty. What is it? A red Minoria. Okay. So, a Folly red Minoria, also explained or described as a red Minoria, or Yuffie is just treating it very casually, like the colors are similar, so maybe she didn't realize it was Folly red, or maybe she doesn't even know there's Folly red Minoria, and only knows of red Minoria. Wait a second. Why? This is actually scary. Why on my OBS is it still showing the flower? I'm not on the flower. What? Oh, there we go. I think I fixed it. Sorry about that. That was scary. So yeah, it's a red Minoria. They like to grow in the deep clinic out in free domain. Now, we've heard about the deep clinic. Not sure what it is. I can only assume it's either A, very deep, like vertically, like low clinic. I think that's also mentioned in Natatoria, which makes sense. Or it is very close to the black wall. Like you're going out deep. And it's in free domain too, which lines up with that. So, but that also means, like, if you have in society, if you live near the black wall, it wouldn't grow there because that's not free domain. It's outside of sanatoria, which is important because it seems like sanatoria, the boundaries are created by Providence. So if it's out in free domain, it's almost like it does not grow within Providence's site, within Providence's area, which is interesting because the flower and the folly red seem to have a connection with life and death. And if I view them as kind of like godlike entities, and Providence is basically a godlike entity, so yeah, there you go. Like, Sanatoria is Providence's like domain, but outside of that, that's where you get this influence from life and death, or one of them. I don't know which one the flowers are, but yeah. Holy shit, Yuffie said the word abundant. That's an adna reference, I'm just saying. Even though they're abundant where they grow, they're quite rare to get a hold of. So they grow a lot, there's a lot of them, but they're in dangerous, deep clinic places. Are there any other colored manorias? Not that I know of. Well, we do know of others. We know of pinks, and we're going to interact with a white one. And I think Tsurine brought that up because she's thinking about the dream she had. That's why she said, huh. So, Yuffie has a really nice place in Daughterfly. This might be kind of showing... This is one showing us that Tsurine is kind of stuck here. She could be in a way cooler place. But I feel like it's also showing us that I can only imagine you can live in a pretty awesome, like, house in the clinic because everything is a house. So, like, to live in a place this small, lacking so many amenities, is odd of Tsurine, especially with how much money she has. So Tsurine is confirmed a ghost. She's got some unfinished business here in her apartment. That's interesting that she feels that. I think it's because she has to solve her memory, like she wants to know stuff. She wants leads, but hey, maybe this is referring to something else. Oh, wow, Yuffie fucking... I made the same joke as Yuffie. I'm gonna take that as a compliment, honestly. Damn. Are you a ghost or something? And Tsurine says maybe. There's a line you can, like... Tsurine is actually a ghost? No, I'm kidding. Okay, but she is someone with a name that is rare. She's the only one with her name. She has no connection to anyone, no memories. Like, look at her fucking body record. Tell me this girl isn't a ghost. I feel like I called her that in the one episode. Unknown, no. Like, this girl's a fucking ghost in the system. She's a ghost in the shell. What can I say? And, not to harp on the ghost thing even more, but we do hear about the haunted mall thing, okay? And it is from Yuffie, so that's interesting. And yeah, I was gonna say this, but she said it for me. Yuffie doesn't scare easily. She was not scared by the boo, and she wants to explore a haunted mall. And yeah, so good to know. So this is probably nothing, but for most of the items, Yuffie gives us the generic, like, that's not anything interesting. But for the scarf that we give her that smells, she's like, oh, it reeks, I don't want it. When we give her the antique skin stitch needle, she instead says, ill, get it away. Which is just interesting. Obviously, it's like a needle that's used and it's gross, but like, it also feels like a pretty important item. This is probably nothing, but maybe it's something. Okay, you can scratch that. Tsurine, or Yuffie says the ill, it's gross about other things. It's the scarf that's actually unique. Alright, dear Yuffie, we got 2 USBs here. Why are they 2 USBs? We'll see. I can imagine these are... One was given and then the other was given at a later date. So these are staggered. Heard you're moving the Daughterfly. That's that's big news. Shame I had to find out through Tsurine, though. Still adamant about not talking to me. It's been, what, close to 2 decades. So, God, now we can make a Yuffie timeline where it's been around 2 decades since Yuffie and Rivian were on talking terms. Alrighty, so Rivian is pretty desperate. She's like, please, Yuffie, I'm a different person now, and you need people who can support you. Okay, so seems like whatever happened between Rivian and Yuffie, Rivian, it was a problem with her personality and who she was. It's not like she did something that was bad, it's that she, as a person, like, was wrong. And Yuffie's like, oh, or Rivian's like, I'm a different person now. And then she also says, life can't be easy with what you've got. That is interesting. What does Yuffie have? I don't think we know of anything that she has. And whatever it is, Rivian needs to, or like Yuffie needs support for whatever she's got. Don't keep shutting yourself out from everyone but the Squidster. So Yuffie isn't just shutting herself out from Rivian, other people, supposedly. Which is kind of interesting. Is Yuffie's only friend, or like close person, Tsurine? Has Yuffie pushed away every single person she knew? And is now only hanging out with Tsurine, because it's like, well, why Tsurine? Well, Tsurine has no memory. Tsurine has nothing. It's a blank slate that Yuffie can start off with, you know? And yeah, Rivian is the sister. We could be a family. If not your sister, then maybe someone else. I just want you safe. So yeah. And then we get another USB. This one's more about Tezza, working on a personal investigation. Looking into the disappearance of Tezza. Case was shut down several years ago. So we know... Hold on, let me look through this real quick. I am almost certain that this USB was sent. So this is number 2. So it's most likely sent after the first one. The first one mentioned Tsurine, right? So, and we can assume it's post-amnesia Tsurine, right? Unless Tsurine and Yuffie used to be friends. That would be crazy. But yeah, this seems like it's recent, right? Recent USBs. So, and yeah, if Yuffie and Tsurine knew each other, Rivian would probably say something. So yeah, we can infer that Rivian has been investigating Tezza for several years, or this case was shut down several years ago. Probably when Tezza went missing, which I believe was 2 years ago, right? Maybe? Or some kind of amount of ago. I think it was 2 years ago. The whole thing has my mind fixated on you and your safety. I know it was years ago, but I've been thinking a lot about how much it would break me if something ever happened to you. So what is Rivian talking about? I know it was years ago. What, the Tezza thing? Or did something else happen years ago? We know that their little falling out happened like 20 fucking years ago, so maybe not that. Seems so Rivian's talking about the Tezza thing. I know the Tezza thing was years ago. Yeah, because she's saying the whole thing has my mind fixated on you. The Tezza situation. I know it was years ago, but I've been thinking a lot about how much it would break me if something ever happened to you. So, that's interesting. It seems like Rivian kind of almost knows what happened to Tezza, like why she disappeared, and for some reason it's related to Yuffie. Why? We know Yuffie saw Tezza around with Tsurine, but why is Yuffie concerned about... Fuck, sorry. I keep getting their names mixed. Why is Rivian concerned about Yuffie? Because Tezza went missing. That's really interesting. Obviously, it could be like, oh, someone going missing. I'm worried, but I think it's more than that. I have a safe place for you. At my home in Frigid Complex. If you ever get into shit, won't ask questions or bother you. Just keep me in mind. I think Gally really wants to see you. I think Gally is a dog, personally. If it's not a dog, maybe it's the girl in the elevator. Who fucking knows? But it feels like a dog. But yeah, we know Rivian lives in Frigid Complex on the border. And that something might happen to Yuffie. So yeah, the USBs have been sitting for years. Grabbed everything inside this morning because time was tight. And Yuffie's gonna put them back in the mailbox. And even though that's weird, weird emotions make you do weird things. So very interesting. And that is, if I believe, for now, all of Tsurine's room. There's a little more stuff when we get some other items. But I guess I'll end it here, because I think I've been maybe have an hour-ish or more of recording. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you have any questions or want me to check anything out, let me know, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.